The locker room echoed with the slam of metal doors and the sharp crack of a fist against bone. Ethan gasped, tasting blood on his split lip, as the circle of jocks tightened around him like wolves scenting weakness. "Faggot?" the ringleader snarled, his breath hot and beer soured from some stolen six-pack. "You think you can just prance around here like you own the place?" In the dim fluorescence of Jefferson High's underbelly, 15-year-old Ethan Harper curled into himself on the cold tile floor, his backpack spilling textbooks like spilled secrets. The pain bloomed hot in his ribs, but it was the laughter raw, echoing, endless, that carved the deepest scar. He had only wanted to grab his gym clothes before practice, to blend into the shadows like always. But Jake Harlan had seen him first, those piercing green eyes narrowing with the kind of hate that boys like Jake wore like a badge. "You gonna cry now, Harper? Run to your fairy godmother." Jake's voice cut through the haze, laced with a venom that masked something darker, something unspoken. Ethan's world tilted, the fluorescent buzz drilling into his skull, and in that moment, he swore he'd vanish. Poof, gone. From this godforsaken town of Milford, Ohio, where cornfields stretched like judgmental fingers and secrets festered under Friday night lights. That night, under the sagging roof of his family's trailer on the edge of town, Ethan stitched himself back together with trembling hands and stolen ibuprofen from his mom's nightstand. The mirror in the bathroom, cracked from when Dad hurled a bottle during one of his benders, reflected a boy with hollow cheeks and eyes too old for 16. Wait, 15, the calendar lied. He was 15, but the weight of Jake's boot print on his chest made him feel ancient. "Why me?" he whispered to the ghost of his reflection. But the only answer was the distant wail of a freight train slicing through the dark. School became a battlefield after that. Whispers slithered through the hallways like smoke. Herd Harpers into dudes. Creepy as hell. Lockers scrawled with slurs in permanent marker. Gym shorts yanked down in the showers. A milk carton appended over his lunch tray in the cafeteria. The white liquid pooling like shame. Jake was the architect, always at the center, his broad shoulders and quarterback swagger making him untouchable. Milford worshipped its golden boy, the son of the mill owner, the kid who could thread a football through a needle and flash a grin that melted cheerleaders. But with Ethan, Jake's mask slipped. His taunts carried an edge, a flicker of something that wasn't just hate, like a storm cloud hiding lightning. Ethan's grades, once a straight-A fortress, crumbled under the siege. He skipped classes, forging notes in his mom's shaky cursive, and spent afternoons in the library's forgotten stacks, devouring books about far-off places. New York spires, California beaches, worlds where boys like him could breathe without apology. His best friend, Mia, a wiry girl with purple-streaked hair and a punk rock snarl, tried to shield him. "Screw those assholes," she'd hiss, linking arms as they dodged the parking lot gauntlet. "You're gold, Ethan. Real gold." But even Mia couldn't stop the texts. Anonymous numbers blasting photos of him from middle school, awkward and beaming at the spring fair, captioned "Future Prom Queen?" Home wasn't sanctuary. Mom worked double shifts at the diner, her uniform stained with grease and regret, while Dad's recliner sagged under his bourbon-soaked frame. "Toughen up, boy," he'd grunt when Ethan limped in with fresh bruises, eyes glued to the TV's glow. World ain't kind to softies. Ethan learned to hide the welts under hoodies, to swallow sobs in the shower's roar. But the dreams came relentless. Jake's face twisted in fury, then softening in the half-light, hands that hurt reaching to heal. He woke sweating, heart pounding, hating the pull in his gut. The traitorous spark that said Jake's cruelty hit a mirror to his own buried longing. By junior year, the pressure cooker blew. It was homecoming week, the air thick with bonfire smoke and the thump of bass from tailgates. Ethan had sworn off the dance, planning a solo Netflix binge, but Mia dragged him out, her eyeliner fierce as armor. "You deserve one night," she insisted, shoving glittery sneakers into his hands. The gym pulsed with strobe lights and sweat, bodies grinding under crepe paper banners. Ethan hovered by the punch bowl, nursing a spiked cup, when Jake materialized, beer in hand, tie askew, that devil-may-care smirk plastered on. "Look who showed." Jake drawled, voice slurring just enough to betray the flask in his pocket. His buddies flanked him, but tonight their laughs rang hollow. Ethan's pulse jackhammered. He braced for the shove, the slur. Instead, Jake leaned in, close enough for Ethan to smell the cologne-masking whiskey. Cedar and Storm. "Dance with me, Harper." It wasn't a question. The words hung, electric, and before Ethan could bolt, Jake's hand clamped his wrist, pulling him into the throng. The floor vibrated under their sneakers, a slow song crooning from the speakers. Some Bon Iver lament about skin and ghosts. Jake's grip was iron, but his eyes. God. His eyes darted like a cornered animal's. "What the hell?" Ethan hissed, voice lost in the bass, but he didn't pull away. Bodies bumped them closer, heat bleeding through flannel shirts, and for 30 seconds, a lifetime, Jake's forehead brushed Ethan's, breath mingling in the chaos. Then the song ended, lights flared, and Jake shoved him back, hard. "Freak!" he spat, but his cheeks burned crimson, and he vanished into the crowd like smoke. Ethan fled to the parking lot, lungs burning, Mia's calls fading behind. He drove his beat-up Civic, Dad's hand-me-down with a busted muffler, out to the quarry's edge, where the water gleamed black under stars. There, with gravel biting his palms, he shattered. Sobs racked him, raw and animal, the betrayal of his own body twisting the knife. Because in that dance, he'd felt it. The want, mutual and monstrous. Jake's touch a brand he couldn't scrub off. "I hate you," he screamed to the void. But the wind carried it back, laced with truth. "I hate that I don't." The fallout was apocalypse. Rumors exploded. Harlan and the queer. Total setup for a beatdown. Jake doubled down, his cruelty surgical. Tripping Ethan in the hall. Accidentally slamming his locker on fingers. But cracks showed. Jake's punches landed softer. His glares lingered too long. Ethan documented it all in a spiral notebook, timestamps and sketches, building a case for the counselor he'd never see. "Fight back," Mia urged. But Ethan was a ghost, fading into AP classes and college apps, dreaming of escape. Senior year dawned brittle as frost. Ethan aced the SATs, his essay on resilience in the margins, earning him a full ride to NYU, his ticket out. Jake, meanwhile, spiraled. Scouts whispering about his arm, Dad's mill layoffs hitting hard, whispers of juvie from a joyride gone wrong. At graduation, under the auditorium's hush, their eyes locked across the sea of caps and gowns. Jake's face, haggard, shadowed, held no smirk, just a hollow plea. Ethan turned away, diploma clutched like a shield, and boarded the Greyhound west the next dawn. Milford shrinking to a speck in the rearview. New York swallowed him whole. The village's rainbow flags fluttered like promises. Coffee shops buzzed with unapologetic laughter. And Ethan's dorm room overlooked Washington Square, where buskers strummed anthems of the out and proud. He majored in journalism, interning at the Village Voice, his bylines sharp as scalpels on queer rights and small-town shadows. Dates came tentative, baristas with easy smiles, artists with calloused hands, but none stuck. His heart, scarred and skittish, built walls of wit and whiskey. Years blurred. 22, a cubicle at BuzzFeed, bylines in the Atlantic. 25, a loft in Brooklyn, houseplants thriving under grow lights while he wilted under deadlines. Friends, Mia, now a tattoo artist in Chicago, new crew of queer poets and podcasters, pulled him to brunches and pride floats, but the quarry's echo lingered, a ghost in his throat. Therapy unpacked the layers. Trauma bonds, his counselor said, voice soft over Zoom. Hate and love, twins in the dark. Ethan nodded, but forgiveness? That was a bridge too far, burned to ash. Then, at 28, the call came. A freelance gig, profile on Rust Belt Revival, spotlighting Milford's tech boom. The old mill reborn as a startup hub. Go home, his editor urged. Dig deep. Ethan booked the flight, stomach knotted, telling himself it was professional armor. The town had changed. Condos sprouting like weeds, craft breweries in gutted barns. But the air still hummed with ghosts. He checked into the Milford Inn, its lobby smelling of polished oak and regret. First interview, the mayor all bluster and handshakes. Then the Chamber of Commerce, touting inclusive innovation. But the real story pulsed underground, in dive bars where locals nursed PBRs and grudges. That's where he saw Jake, or the man Jake had become. Leaning against the scarred oak bar at O'Malley's, nursing a whiskey neat, broad shoulders slumped under a flannel shirt, green eyes dulled by time and something heavier. No swagger left, just a quiet weariness, laugh lines etching defeat. Ethan froze in the doorway, pulse thundering. Jake's head snapped up, recognition dawning slow, then sharp as a blade. "Harper," he breathed, sliding off the stool like it burned. The bar's murmur faded to static. Ethan forced steel into his spine. Harlan. Small world. They stood there, inches apart, the years a chasm bridged by silence. Jake's hair, once buzzed golden, hung shaggy and dark. His hands, scarred from factory work, twitched at his sides. "You look good," Jake said, voice rough as gravel. "Heard you made it big." "Journalist?" Ethan clipped, pen poised over his notebook like a weapon. "Here for a story." "You?" Jake's laugh was bitter, hollow. "Bartender. Dad's mill went under. I fix trucks now." "Life's a joke, huh?" He gestured to a booth, hesitant. "Buy you a drink? For old times." Ethan's gut twisted, flee or fight. But the story called, and curiosity, that old trader, won. They slid into cracked vinyl, the jukebox crooning Springsteen. Jake talked haltingly. College dropout, knee blowout ending football dreams, a string of bar fights and bad jobs. "I was an asshole," he admitted, eyes on his glass. "Worse than that. Scared shitless, you know? Of what I felt. Of you." The words landed like punches, soft now, laced with regret. Ethan gripped his beer, knuckles white. "Felt? You mean the hate you shoveled on me daily?" Jake winced, leaning forward, elbows on the scarred table. "Not all hate, Ethan. God, I've replayed it a million times, that dance, the way you fit against me like you were made for it." Panicked, pushed harder to bury it. His voice cracked, raw. "Ruined us both." The booth shrank, air thick with unsaid truths. Ethan's walls trembled. Anger warred with ache, the boy's bruise meeting the man's remorse. "You broke me," he whispered, voice steady despite the storm. "Every day, I rebuilt from your scraps." Jake reached across, hand hovering, then dropping. "I know, and if I could, I'd take it all back." Their eyes locked, green on hazel. And in that gaze, the past flickered. Pain? Yes, but possibility, fragile as frost. Ethan left O'Malley's with his notebook half-filled. Jake's number scrawled in the margin like a dare. The night air bit crisp, Milford streets lit by sodium lamps that hummed like old regrets. He walked to the quarry, muscle memory pulling him there, perching on the same boulder where he'd shattered years ago. The water below mirrored stars, indifferent, and Ethan let the words spill. Jake's confession, a crack in the armor he'd forged. "Not all hate," it echoed, stirring silt from the depths. Back in Brooklyn 2 days later, the piece took shape. Milford rising, from rust to rainbow? He wove Jake in peripherally, a reformed everyman, symbol of gritty redemption, omitting the gut-punch intimacy. But sleep evaded him. Dreams tangled teenage taunts with adult whispers. Jake's hand on his wrist, both cage and caress. He texted Mia, back in Milford. Ran into the devil. He's human now. Her reply pinged instant. "Run, babe, or burn it down." Your call. The article dropped viral. Shares rippling through queer feeds and Heartland subs. Invites flooded. Podcasts. Panels. But Jake's message waited, unopened. "Read it. Fair. Coffee when you're back? No pressure." Ethan stared at the screen in his loft. Rain pattering the loft skylight. The city a neon blur beyond. Delete? Block? Or? He typed back, fingers flying. "Why now?" Jake's reply, "Because I never stopped thinking about fixing it. About you." They met at a Williamsburg cafe, neutral ground, hipsters clacking laptops under Edison bulbs. Jake flew in on a red-eye, looking smaller in the urban sprawl. Jeans faded, boots scuffed, a duffel slung over one shoulder. "Big city suits you," he said, stirring black coffee, steam curling like ghosts. Ethan, in chinos and a button-down, felt exposed, the boy he'd buried clawing up. Conversation stuttered. Weather, work, the superficial scaffolding of strangers. Then Jake leaned in, voice low. "I came out last year. Therapy, mostly. AA before that, booze was my shield." He traced the mug's rim, eyes down. "Started with a guy at the garage. Mechanic, rough around the edges. Taught me it's okay to want." Ethan's throat tightened. A cocktail of vindication and ache. "Good for you." Took guts. But his mind reeled. Jake out, living the life Ethan had clawed for. "And me? I was your practice run for hate." "No." Jake's hand shot across the table, gripping Ethan's forearm, firm, unyielding. "You were the real thing, the one that scared me most because it felt right. I bullied to kill it, but it just grew." The cafe faded, barista's chatter a distant hum. Ethan's pulse thrummed under Jake's touch, heat seeping through sleeve. He pulled back, slow, breath shallow. "You don't get to rewrite history with a sorry and a coffee." "I know." Jake's eyes, those damn green eyes, shimmered. "But maybe we write a new chapter? Dinner? No expectations." Against every screaming instinct, Ethan nodded. Dates unfolded tentative. Walks along the High Line, where tourists milled oblivious. Thai takeout in Ethan's loft, chopsticks clacking over stories of survival. Jake opened like a book long shuttered. Tales of his father's belt, the town's suffocating grip, the night he drove to the quarry after Ethan left, hurling stones till dawn, screaming apologies to empty water. Ethan shared too. The panic attacks in freshman dorms, the first Pride March where he wept under confetti rain, the hookups that healed nothing. Laughter crept in, unbidden. Jake's deadpan impressions of Milford's mayor, Ethan's snarky recaps of viral scandals. Touches lingered. A brush of knuckles on the subway, Jake's arm around shoulders during a midnight movie. Sex? No, not yet. Boundaries held firm, a slow burn that terrified and thrilled. "This feels like a dream," Jake murmured one night. Head on Ethan's pillow after too much wine. The city lights painting their skin silver. "Like I'll wake up and you're gone again." "Then stay awake," Ethan whispered, tracing the scar on Jake's jaw, a bar fight remnant. But doubt gnawed. Was this redemption or recursion? Mia visited, eyeing Jake over mimosas. "He's hot, I'll give him. But trust? That's earned in blood, not brunches." The conflict simmered, then boiled over at pride. Ethan had a float commitment, emceeing for a queer youth nonprofit, mic in hand under rainbow arches. Jake tagged along, tentative in a borrowed Love Wins tee, his hands sweaty in Ethan's. The crowd surged, drums pounding, glitter swirling like joy's confetti. Then, a shout pierced. "Harlan? That you, man?" A face from the past. Tommy, Jake's old linebacker buddy. Beer in fist, eyes narrowing. The confrontation erupted in a side alley, away from the revelry. Tommy, burly and buzzed, jabbed a finger at Jake. "Heard you went full rainbow. With him? The kid you used to pound." Laughter barked, his posse circling. Jake stiffened, stepping forward. "Back off, Tom. That's ancient history." "History? You're a traitor. Bro, small-town values, remember?" Tommy's swing came wild, glancing Jake's shoulder. Ethan lunged, foolish, fierce, shoving between. "He's not your punching bag anymore." The scuffle blurred. Fists, curses, the crack of knuckles on jaw. Jake hauled Ethan back, shielding, as security swarmed. In the ER's harsh glow, stitches closing a cut above Ethan's eye, Jake paced like a caged wolf. "This is my fault. Dragging the past here." His voice broke, hands trembling as he dabbed antiseptic. "You deserve better than my baggage." Ethan caught his wrist, holding fast. "We both have scars, Jake. Question is, do we let them define us? The room hushed, monitors beeping soft. Jake sank into the chair, head bowed. I love you, he said, simple, shattering. Have since that stupid dance. Terrified me then. Terrifies me now. Tears pricked Ethan's eyes, the boy's fear meeting the man's hope. I think I love you too, but slow. We earn this. Summer deepened their rhythm. Weekends at Jake's rented Jersey walk-up, cooking burgers on a rusty grill, nights tangled in sheets. Intimate, not urgent, hands mapping forgiveness. Jake enrolled in community college, welding classes by day, bartending nights. Ethan mentored at a youth center, channeling Milford's pain into purpose. But shadows loomed. Jake's phone buzzed insistent. Dad? Hospitalized, liver failing. Come home, the voicemail rasped. Make it right. Jake went, alone, Ethan waving from the airport curb. Days stretched to a week, texts sparse. Family's rough. Miss you. Then silence. Panic clawed Ethan. Echoes of abandonment, the quarry's cold. He flew out unannounced, landing in Milford's muggy dusk, hailing a cab to the Harlan homestead, a sagging rancher on the mill's old lot. The porch light flickered as he knocked, heart hammering. Jake answered, hollow-eyed, flannel untucked. Ethan? What? Behind him voices rose. Dad's slur, Mom's plea. Jake pulled him inside, door clicking shut. The living room reeked of stale smoke and sickness. Dad propped on the couch, oxygen hissing, eyes milky with booze and bile. Who's this pretty boy? Dad wheezed, squinting. Jake tensed. A friend. From the city. But Dad's gaze sharpened, venom surfacing. The fairy you tormented? Figures. Always knew you had it in you, son. Weak blood. The words landed like shrapnel. Jake paled, fists clenching. Shut up, Dad. You're drunk. But the old man laughed, wet and ragged. Truth hurts, boy. Ran him off once. Do it again. Ethan's blood iced. The past resurrected, clawing. He turned to Jake, searching. Fight or fold. Jake's face crumpled, then hardened. Get out. He snarled at his father, voice thunder. You've poisoned enough. He grabbed Ethan's hand, storming out to the truck, tires screeching gravel as they fled to the quarry. There, under a harvest moon, Jake broke. He's dying, and all I see is the monster who made me one. Sobs shook him, raw, unfiltered. Ethan held him, rocking on the boulder, whispering, You're not him. You chose different. Lips met tentative, then fierce, sealing promises in salt and starlight. Back in the city, fall leaves carpeted the parks, their bond tempered in fire. Jake transferred credits to NYU, crashing Ethan's loft full-time. Holidays loomed. Thanksgiving at Mia's, a table of misfits toasting second chances. But betrayal brewed, subtle as frost. It cracked open on a December eve, snow dusting Brooklyn brownstones. Ethan came home early, arms laden with takeout, to find Jake on the couch. Phone glowing, face ashen. What? Ethan asked, dropping bags. Jake handed it over, silent. Texts from Tommy, forwarded from Milford. Screenshots. Jake, weeks back, at a bar with old crew. Just blowing off steam, the message read. But the photo. Jake's arm around Tommy, grins wide, a beer raised. Caption. Boys' night. Some things don't change. Ethan's world tilted, trust fracturing. Explain. Voice steel, but inside, the boy screamed. Bullied again, discarded. Jake stammered. It was nothing. Nostalgia, stupid talk. I left when it turned ugly. But the seed planted doubt, that old poison. Words flew sharp. Nostalgia? With the guy who clocked me at Pride. Ethan paced, chest tight. Am I your redemption project, Jake? Fix the queer. Pat on back. Back to bros. No. Jake surged up, grabbing shoulders. You're everything. I swear. But Ethan shrugged free, door slamming behind. The streets swallowed him, snow muffling sobs. The quarry's echo reborn in urban chill. Ethan crashed at Mia's that night. Her Astoria walk up a haven of vinyl records and cat hair. Dump his ass, she decreed over herbal tea, curls frizzing in the steam. Bullies don't evolve, they adapt. But Ethan curled on her futon, scrolling Jake's texts. Please talk. I messed up, but not like that, heart a war zone. Dawn found him hollow, phoning a rideshare back to the loft, resolve fraying. Jake waited on the stoop, breath fogging in the cold, duffel at his feet. Don't leave, he pleaded as Ethan approached, voice raw from unslept hours. I flew Tommy in for a job lead welding gig in Queens. 1 beer, that's it. He cornered me for stories, I shut it down. Swear on my life. Ethan's key hovered at the lock, keys jingling accusation. Screenshots don't lie, neither does history. He pushed past, but Jake followed, filling the doorway. History's why I'm fighting. For us. The apartment hummed tense, holiday lights from neighbors twinkling mockery through blinds. They talked till noon, coffee cold, voices hoarse. Jake bared it all. The pull of old ties, the fear of losing roots while grafting new. I panicked, reached back. Stupid. Ethan listened, walls cracking under honesty. Trust rebuilds slow, he said finally, hand extended. Prove it. Winter wove them tighter, betrayal's scar fading to silver. Jake aced midterms, his welds earning praise. Ethan landed a book deal. Memoir on queer survival, Milford's shadow looming large. They decorated the loft. A menorah beside a tiny tree, fusion of fractured pasts. New Year's Eve, rooftop under fireworks, Jake knelt. Not proposal but promise. I'm all in, Ethan. No half measures. Spring bloomed fragile. Jake's dad passed in March, a quiet rattle in a hospital bed. Ethan flew with him, holding space in the waiting room's vinyl chairs. At the funeral, sparse pews, Milford's finest murmuring platitudes. Jake eulogized, voice steady. He taught me strength and failure. Afterward, by the grave, Jake turned to Ethan. Snow flurries dancing. You taught me grace. Healing deepened, but conflict shadowed. Ethan's book tour loomed, coasts calling. Jake's internship in Jersey pulled east. We'll manage, Ethan assured over diner pancakes. Syrup sticky sweet, but distance gnawed, texts terse across time zones. In San Francisco, Ethan swiped through Grindr boredom, guilt immediate, just looking, he lied to himself. Jake's calls grew edged. Miss you. This empty bed's killing me. Climax crashed in July, heatwave haze baking the city. Ethan returned from LA, bone-tired, to find Jake's truck idling curbside. Not the loft, but the airport pickup gone wrong. Inside, chaos. Duffel unzipped, clothes strewn. A note half crumpled. Can't do long distance. Back to Milford. Sorry. Heart plummeting, Ethan dialed voicemail. Texts bounced unread. Panic propelled him to Jersey, the garage where Jake apprenticed. Foreman's shrug. Quit yesterday. Said family needed him. Family? Milford called again, Ethan's gut twisting. He drove through the night, Holland Tunnel spitting him into Heartland dusk. Corn whispering accusations. The Harlan house stood darker, porch light out. Knocking yielded silence. Side yard, Jake's truck parked crooked. Voices drifted from the shed, low, heated. Ethan crept closer, heart thunder, peering through cracked boards. Jake, shirtless in the humid dark, arms around. Tommy, not embrace. Tommy slumped, Jake propping him, but the intimacy stung. Hands on waist, foreheads touching. You came back for me? Tommy slurred, breath whiskey. Jake's nod soft. Couldn't leave you drowning, man. Like old times. Betrayal bloomed vicious, Ethan's vision spotting. He burst in, door splintering. Old times? That's your proof. Jake whirled, face draining. Tommy blinked, swaying. Harper? Shit. Out. Ethan snarled at Tommy, who stumbled past, muttering. Alone, the shed closed in, tools glinting like teeth. Jake reached. Ethan, wait. Tommy's spiraling. Divorce, job loss. I drove down to check. That's all. Liar. Ethan's voice cracked, fists balled. Screenshots, now this? You're running, Jake. Back to safe, straight passing hell. No! Jake advanced, desperate. I'm here for him, like I'd be for you. But you ghosted weeks, buried in your tour. I felt discarded. Discarded. Laughter bitter, Ethan shoved him back. You discarded me first. High school, now this. Pattern, not mistake. Tears hot, he fled to the truck, peeling gravel to the quarry. Full circle, moon mocking. Jake followed, headlights in rear view, skidding to halt beside. Ethan! He yanked the door, pulling him out into night air thick with crickets. They grappled, words, then hands, shoving turning to clutching. I love you, Jake gasped, pinning him to the hood, breaths mingling. Fight for this. Please. Ethan broke then, sobs wrenching. It hurts. Every time, it hurts. Jake held him, rocking, whispers of sorry weaving with wind. Dawn crept, painting them gold. Exhaustion won, sleep claiming them tangled on a blanket from the truck bed, quarry water lapping lullaby. Awake to birdsong, Ethan searched Jake's face. Lines etched deeper, eyes pleading. Truth, he demanded. All of it. Jake nodded, voice gravel. Tommy's my past, confused hookups in college before I owned it. Nothing since. But you, your future. He pulled a ring from his pocket. Simple band, tungsten scarred like them. Not now, but when you're ready. Ethan took it, cool metal grounding. Slow, he echoed their old vow. But together. Summer's end brought resolution. Jake returned to the city, internship salvaged. Tommy referred to rehab. Ethan's book soared. Readings packed with stories mirroring theirs. Bullied kids finding voice. They moved to a garden apartment in the village. Window boxes blooming defiant. Fall deepened bonds. Couples therapy. Unpacking lockers of pain. Jake welded art. Abstract hearts. Sold at queer markets. Ethan wrote op-eds on forgiveness's edge. Holidays healed. Milford visit. Mom's pie tentative bridge. Dad's grave a quiet pact. But humanism bloomed in margins. At the youth center, Ethan mentored a kid wide-eyed, bruised, like him once. It gets better, he said, Jake's hand warm on his shoulder. Not easy. Real. Thanksgiving gathered them. Mia, new friends, a table groaning with gratitude. Jake raised a glass. To scars that story. Ethan clinked, eyes locking. Past conquered, present pulsing. Winter whispered promise. Snow fell soft on their balcony. Jake's arms circling from behind. Partner? He murmured, breath warm on neck. Ethan turned, kissing slow, deep. Always. Yet life layered nuance. Jake's doubts resurfaced in therapy. Am I enough? Ethan's ambition pulling to DC gigs. They navigated, storms yielding to sun. Pride next year, hand in hand, no shadows trailing. In quiet moments, coffee steam, tangled sheets. Ethan traced Jake's jaw, marveling. From bully's fist to lover's hold. A arc bent human. Not perfect. Profoundly real. Years folded forward. Time's gentle thief. At 35, Ethan's memoir hit bestseller lists. A TED Talk going viral. From quarry to queer. Reclaiming the bullied boy. Audiences wept, nodded, his story. There's Jake, now lead fabricator at a green tech firm. Crafted installations for pride floats. Metal hearts pulsing LED love. Their wedding, small village rooftop, summer haze. Gathered souls. Mia as best woman, cracking jokes through vows. Milford kin, sparse but present, mom dabbing tears. Jake's ring slid on, matching Ethan's. Scarred tungsten, engraved awake. I do, they chorused. Kiss ceiling under cheers and confetti. Life wove domestic poetry. Mornings tangled in Egyptian cotton. Jake's pancakes burning edges. Evenings on the couch. Ethan's head in lap. Jake's fingers carding hair. Travel stitched adventures. Road trip to Big Sur. Waves crashing like applause. Provincetown weekends. Bikes on dunes, hands linked free. Conflict lingered, subtle. Jake's wanderlust clashing Ethan's rooted routine. Let's move west. He'd muse over maps, eyes alight. Ethan, tethered to city pulse, resisted. Here, we built this. Arguments flared, dishes clattering, doors soft slamming. But makeup was ritual. Apologies over gelato, forgiveness in slow dances to Coltrane. Betrayal's ghost revisited once. Tommy, clean 2 years, emailed Jake. A job offer in Cleveland, brothers in arms. Jake shared instant, no secrets. Tempted? Ethan asked, throat tight. Jake pulled him close. Only by you. They forwarded it unread, choosing them. Humanism rooted deep. Volunteering at shelters, Ethan penning grants for trans kids. Jake mentoring apprentices. Strength in bends, not breaks. Their home, walls lined books and welds. Hosted suppers for strays. A runaway teen crashing couch, stories swapped till dawn. At 40, Ethan founded a foundation, Quarry Lights, scholarships for rural queer youth. Launch Gala, MoMA Loft, Jake's installation centerpiece. Twisted rebar forming a bridge, lights tracing paths from dark to dawn. To crossings, Jake toasted, arm around waist. Ethan beamed, pride swelling, not just survival, thriving. Challenges came. Jake's knee, old injury flaring, sidelining him months. Ethan juggled deadlines, bedside vigils, resentment bubbling. I feel trapped, he confessed one rain-lashed night. Jake, crutches propped, cupped his face. Then fly, I'll catch you. Therapy rebuilt, stronger. Vows renewed in a Pocono's cabin. Leaves flaming witness. Kids, not biological, ethics tangled, but fostering bloomed. First placement. Alex, 16, wide-eyed from Bible Belt bruises. Safe here? He whispered first night. Ethan knelt, safer than safe. Home. Jake taught him welds, Ethan stories. Alex flowered, college-bound, their forever ripple. Aging graced them. Silver threading Jake's stubble, laugh lines framing Ethan's eyes. Anniversaries marked milestones. Quarry pilgrimages, dancing under Ohio stars. Brooklyn bashes, friends toasting endurance. We made it, Jake murmured 40th, candlelight flickering. Ethan traced his ring. We're making it, every day. Climax revisited in crisis. Wildfire season, California evacuations. Alex, now 25, grad student there, called frantic. Home ablaze, pets trapped. They flew, Jake's hands steady in turbulence. Amid ash-choked air, they dug. Rescuing a tabby, hauling boxes, Alex's hug bone crush. My dad's, he choked, label earned. Back east, reflection deepened. We choose joy, Ethan wrote in his next book, Bridges Bent, dedicating to Jake. For the bully who became Bridge. Launches packed, Jake front row, grin proud. Betrayal's final echo. Milford Mill. Now their foundation's hub, hit scandal. Old logs surfaced. Jake's juvenile record. Fights glossed over. Press hounded. Reformed or repeat? Ethan shielded. Presser fierce. Redemption's messy. His heart's gold. Jake faltered, nights pacing. Worthy? He asked, voice small. Ethan pulled him to mirror. Look, see the man who chose love. Tears fell. Resolve hardened. Ending unfolded humanistic. No tidy bow, life's weave imperfect. At 50, they adopted. Twins, from foster fray, brown eyes curious. Diapers and deadlines danced chaos. Jake's lullabies gravel soft, Ethan's tales bedtime spells. Retirement whispered. Cottage in the Catskills, porch swings creaking. Mornings, coffee steaming. Jake's head on shoulder. Best plot twist. Ethan chuckled. Hours. In twilight years, ailments nipped. Jake's arthritis, Ethan's tinnitus from city din. But hands clasped firm, stories retold, high school hell to haven. Regret. Jake asked once, autumn leaves drifting. Ethan kissed knuckles. Only not sooner. Final chapter. Hospital bed. Jake fading. Pneumonia's thief. Ethan held vigil. Alex and spouse's bedside. Grandkids' drawings taped rail. Love you, Jake rasped, green eyes dimming. Always did. Always will, Ethan whispered, kiss lingering. Jake slipped quiet, dawn-breaking window. Grief hollowed Ethan, Corey deep. Months blurred. Empty chair, unworn flannel. But legacy pulsed. Foundation thriving, Alex helming, stories echoing. Mia visited. He'd hate your moping. Dance? Babe. He did. Widower's waltz at a gala, partner's ghost in every step. Book poured, awake still, raw elegy. Readers wrote, your love healed mine. At 65, Ethan stood Corey's edge, not alone, but full. Wind carried Jake's laugh. Water gleamed promise. We bridged it, he said to Horizon. Life collapsed once. Rebuilt, it soared. Human, flawed, profound. A bully's redemption, a boy's triumph. Love's arc, bent but unbroken.